As the threat of regulatory overreach and higher taxation for Bitcoin becomes more likely a scenario than ever, powerful Western governments want to knock Bitcoin down a peg. There unfortunately isn't much that could stop them from putting it through stricter rules and high taxes. This week might go down as one of the key markers in Bitcoin history. The International Monetary Fund warned El Salvador to do away with its Bitcoin as legal tender policy, while US President Joe Biden says new rules for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are coming soon. While the President of the United States tells the public that new regulations are coming in its home market, isn't it strange? How the IMF tells a sovereign nation what to do with its currency policy. It's like your neighbor telling you to mow your own lawn. El Salvador isn't borrowing any money from the IMF in Bitcoin. It's just that the big guns are now getting a little anxious. They cannot roll out their central bank digital currencies fast enough, and decentralized crypto is gaining. Power UK's former health minister Matt Hancock wrote in a recent City M feature, "The mainstream arrival of cryptocurrencies is set to shake the foundations of banking. The centuries-old idea that the need for a bank to make a payment is coming to an end. It might just be true even though a health minister is writing on this." Which is strange, he might just be right. A new banking model is indeed taking shape. The old model wants its own digital currency to control, while Bitcoin and others are out of their control for them. That isn't a good thing if the central banks wants to kill Bitcoin and all the altcoins along with it. Then how would they do it? It's been an impending worry that central bank digital currencies will eventually replace demand and interest in Bitcoin. Now this is a new risk perhaps for us, crypto investors. If the US or any government wanted to punish Bitcoin in favor of its own digital dollar, one way to go about it would be increased taxation on crypto investments. What the administration would do is crack down on Coinbase and others and use regulations to make it so onerous for the exchanges. Especially if Biden is going to call it a matter of national security, explains Vladimir Signorelli, the founder of investment research firm Bretton Woods. If increased taxes treated it differently, it would be unfortunate. It would be terrible. The White House is developing a new digital security strategy expected to be issued as an executive order, or EO for short. This means it lasts only as long as Biden is in power, or even longer if a new president agrees with the same regulations. A finalized copy of the new rules are expected in February. The EO will elaborate on a new regulatory framework and will highlight how the White House views Bitcoin as a potential national security risk to the dollar. The International Business Times recently reported that the EO will direct federal agencies to weigh risks and opportunities of these assets and submit their reports by the second half of the year. So this won't happen overnight. Investors will have time to think it through. Though Biden himself hasn't mentioned much about Bitcoin or digital assets in general with plans like this in a queue, he might be talking about it a whole lot more. Another issue that Bitcoin would face, and maybe even Ethereum in the short term, is the Biden team is concerned that mining for cryptocurrencies takes up too much electricity and is therefore bad for the environment. Unlike printing dollars, that's not as bad for the planet. There are just too many ways the government can treat it. Cryptocurrencies are different from traditional securities, and the best way to separate them from the traditional assets is through taxation. For now, selling crypto is same as selling a stock in your E-Trade account. Coinbase will have your tax documents ready for filling if you sold crypto for dollars. The Internal Revenue Service issued Notice 2014-21 in 2014 that defined cryptocurrency as being the same as stocks, bonds, and other assets that qualify for capital gains taxes. If your DeFi token is paying yield, apparently you get taxed on that too, in theory like a stock. If you bought 1,000 of Ethereum in August 2021 and sold it in October 2021 for $2,000. You earned $1,000 in the short-term capital gains and will be taxed according to your tax bracket. The government says that Bitcoin is harmful to the environment and it is not a US issue tender. Therefore, we can tax it differently. This would trigger a massive sell-off in Bitcoin. If you want to kill Bitcoin, get the most powerful nations in the world to tax it to death. Bitcoin is for holders. Buyers don't care about tax anyway. People who have a lot of Bitcoin are holding it for a really long time. Bringing taxes on Bitcoin isn't going to influence the price. We really don't know what to make out of all that's been happening in the recent news. But there's something else that we should be worried about, is a crypto winter that's taking place right now. And it isn't a good thing, as cryptocurrency investors are enraged by the sharp sell-off in Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Some fear the worst is yet to come. Bitcoin, the world's largest virtual currency, briefly plunged below 33,000 Monday to its lowest level since July. It's since recovered back above the 36,000 mark, but it is still down almost 50% from a record of high nearly 69,000 in November. Meanwhile, the entire crypto market has shed more than $1 trillion in value, since both Bitcoin's all-time high as top tokens, such as Ether and Solana, followed the number. One digital currency to trade sharply lower than Ether has more than halved in value since reaching its peak in November. While Solana has declined 65%, that's got some crypto investors talking about the possibility of a crypto winter, a phrase referring to major bear markets in the young digital currency market's history. The most recent such occurrence happened in late 2017 and early 2018 when Bitcoin crashed as much as 80 from all-time highs. David Marcus, the former head of crypto at Facebook parent Meta, appeared to admit a crypto winter has already arrived in a tweet Monday. He said, "It's during crypto winters that the best entrepreneurs build the better companies. This is the time again to focus on solving real problems versus pumping tokens." Crypto's fall has come in tandem with a slide in global stocks. Experts say that involvement of large institutional funds has meant digital assets are becoming more intertwined with traditional markets. The S&P 500 has fallen 8% since the start of the year. Traders fear potential interest rate hikes and aggressive monetary tightening from the Federal Reserve will drain liquidity from the market. The US Central Bank is considering making such moves in response to surging inflation, and some analysts say it could result at the end of the era of ultra-cheap money and sky-high valuations, especially in high-growth sectors like tech, which benefits from lower rates since companies often borrow funds to invest in their business.